Shalom, my people, shalom. Hey, I finished that lesson with the Willie Lynch letter. There was 3 chapters. I'm finished with that, so you should have the videos for that. If you haven't checked it out, you need to go check it out. It's a very good lesson what I gave. And you remember I was on Abraham, how we became out of the bloodline, the reason why God chose us. If you go look at the other video, you will see where I started with Abraham, how he was a righteous man, and how the law was given, the promise was given to Isaac. Well, I'm back on track now. I had to get that book out because I figured we need that information. It was very important. So what I'm doing now, I'm back on Abraham, and my lesson is going to be the chosen people, who we are, how we get to where we at, how we going to get to where we need to be. And I'm still on that lesson. So right now, like I said, I did Abraham. Now I'm on the Abraham what it was on faith, and how faith without work is dead, and how the Lord chose Abraham because of what he did to Isaac, his son. So he called him gonna have a follower, he could follow him in the nations. You know, I went on so forth. You gotta look at the video to get back on track. Right now I'm heading to the covenant blessing. The covenant blessing passed to Isaac. The covenant blessing passed to Isaac. I'm gonna give you scriptures where to go for you to go get this information. Because a lot of the information what I'm giving you, they're not teaching us in church. If we're going to church, I found our church want to do is teach about love and prosperity. Let me turn this mic on, make sure it's on good, people. Give me a minute. Sorry about that. But yes, you see, the message is very good. This is how the Most High methodically chose us as a people. But we don't know as a people that we've been chosen. So it's up to us to study and show yourself approved. Because the church will never go over scriptures that I'm telling you. The churches will never go over scriptures that I'm telling you. I dare anybody to text me or let me know anything that you heard these scriptures. If you do, they read by and fly by. You don't know who Isaac is. You don't know who Jacob is. You don't know who Esau is. You don't know who the Ammonites is. You don't know who the Moabites is. You don't know who these people are today. So if they read it to you, you fly right past it because you don't have no idea who they are. So you don't really pay attention to it. But see, I'm here to show you who the people are today, and why the blessing was given to us. Well, let me get right on into it. Go to Genesis 17, 19 through 21. And God said, Sarah, thy wife, shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I'm gonna get into it. I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But listen to this. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. See, Isaac was who Jacob was going to come through, in which the 12 tribes of Israel, when Jacob named to change to Israel when he wrestled the angel. But I'm going to get into all this, but it's just step-by-step process. I'm going to tell you how the blessing was passed down from Abraham to Isaac, and then from Isaac to Jacob. You see, but you got to remember, you heard what he said, Ishmael. Ishmael come from a bondwoman, which was a slave woman from Africa. Her name was Hagar. See, God usually, see, God said, he said, I'm going to give it to Isaac, which was God chosen one through Abraham from Sarah. See, the bondwoman never get the gift of the free woman. Basically, your first wife get everything. Your first son, all the heritage supposed to go to him. The majority, not all of it, majority of the heritage go to him. Then go to the sons, and sons step down. You got 10 sons, go to the first one, and as follows. And that's the custom. Right now you use that custom today. The firstborn get everything. So you still use it. But what I'm saying, so Ishmael is which is the so-called Muslims of today. The so-called Muslim of today. He blessed them with 12 nations. But there shall be many. Because it's over 500 million Muslim, so-called Muslim. They're the biggest nation of all the so-called religious. But did you hear what it said though? Check this out. Check this out. I will but my covenant my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at the same time the next year. The covenant went to Isaac. We come from the seed of Isaac. Even in the Quran, the Quran said the chosen people of Israel. That's why when you hear Farrakhan speeches, he always go to the Bible. Barely something he read out of the Quran. He always talking about the children of Israel. Why is that? See, but you got even the book, even when they write the Quran, they have to refer to the Bible. The Bible is the master teacher. They have to refer to the Bible. Even in the Quran, you can ask any Muslim, they'll tell you. I think it's in one. They call it. They book not called like our book, but they know where it's at. I know a little bit about it, but they know exactly where it's at. Where it say, "My chosen people, Israel." So we are the chosen people of God. Genesis 21, 9 through 12. And Sarah saw that the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, I told you she was an African. Egyptians are the Ethiopians of the day. Which she had born unto Abraham, mocking her. Because Sarah was barren. So she had Isaac was 13 years older. So that the African woman, the Egyptian, used to go around picking at her because she wasn't pregnant. She the one persuaded Abraham to go in there and have a baby for she could, back then though they did. So they figured they was bare, they would get their maid servant to bear for the name. The whole thing was for the name's sake to go on. So the seed is of the man. So even if they had a slave, they would get the man to go sleep with. If they thought they were barren, and the baby thought God cursed them. When they didn't have babies back then, they thought they were being cursed. So they would pray unto God, then they would get hasty. Instead of waiting on God, they would send the man into who they bond woman, which was the slave woman. And then they would have a baby from them, but then they would get mad and the woman who had the baby would start mocking the free woman, which is the first wife. The bond woman considered the second wife. So they would get jealous and start picking at her because she didn't have a baby. From the so-called, the same way today. The same way as today, you got a woman, you just say you got a married woman. You married to a woman. But you go outside and get a baby first. She's pissed off. So even if she accepts, she don't want you to be around. Separate yourself from them. Don't go see them. Don't pay no child support. They mad. Well, that's the same thing she did. So guess what she did? Wherefore she said unto, now this is Genesis 21, 9 through 12. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, cast out the bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. She didn't want him to share the blessing with her son, which is the heir. The heir is Isaac, which is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You follow me now? Abraham, Isaac, this is a real teaching lesson. Because guess what? They're not teaching us in church. So we don't know who the characters are. So I had to go in stages before we can get it. I'm slowly going in the stage before we can slowly get what's going on. And the things were very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. That still was Abraham's son, even though he wasn't the chosen one, but you got a son, that's still his son. Even though that man loved you but got a son outside, he still loved his son. But it's just the women don't understand the thing how they go because they emotional. Even back then they was emotional. She knows she was out of her husband. He wasn't going nowhere. But he knew that he had another wife. She already knew he had another wife with the bond woman, with the slave woman. She the one told him to go into her and get pregnant. But then when the baby came, she couldn't take it. Like women tell you to tell them the truth, but they can't take it. So she couldn't take it after the baby was born. Well, she the one told him to go in there and get the baby pregnant. So she couldn't take it. So this is what I'm saying. So I want you to keep following me now. Keep on. Guess what? And God said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in their sight because of the lad, because of Ishmael, and because of their bondwoman, because of his second wife. And all that Sarah has said unto thee, hearken unto her voices, for in Isaac shall thy seed be called. God said, to keep the confusion down, go ahead on, send him away. But he gave him a blessing as he sent him away. He gave him a blessing as he said, God, because God had a plan. God had it already planned out. So God told Abraham, don't be grievous. Don't be grievous because the seed coming to Isaac. The seed is coming through what they call the free woman, which you call your first wife. So the seed is coming through Isaac. Right now today, the seed comes through the firstborn. It comes through your wife, your first wife. That's where the seed come through. Okay, check this out. Now Genesis 25 and 11. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt in the land by the well, Leharon. They dealt by the well, by the water. Because they used to dig wells like you do now. And that's where Isaac dwelled by. Check this out. In Romans 9, 7, and 10. This is right here, the covenant blessing passed to Isaac. Went from Abraham to Isaac. So you got to follow the bloodline. So it's very important that you follow the bloodline. So I'm just giving you need to keep up with this series or you won't get lost. I'm giving it to you just as the Bible give it to you. So now go to Romans 9, 7 through 10. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children. See, just because Abraham in the first part of the lesson I gave you, I showed you where Abraham had 5 other sons. The Lord is saying just because they are the seed of Abraham, all of them is not the one. I'm going to keep reading. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham, all there are children, or are they all children, but in Isaac shall the seed be called. God saying that I gave the seed, the covenant, which is the covenant, going to be passed to Isaac. Abraham had a bunch of sons, but it wasn't given to him. God said the seed going to be going through Isaac. In Isaac shall the seed be called. That is they which are the children of the flesh. These are not the children of God, his second wife. They call them bondwomen. Because see, the children of the flesh, he did that because his wife told him to do that. He wouldn't have had sex with his bondwoman because that was flesh and lust. So he wouldn't have did that with her. See, but his wife, which is Sarah, that's where the blessing must come from. Check this out. But the children of the promise are counted for the seed. Isaac is the children of the promise. For this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac. See, because the same thing that God told Abraham to pass the seed to Isaac, Isaac supposed to pass the seed to Jacob, which is later on. See how this all, the New Testament ain't nothing but the Old Testament. Because all they're doing is quoting the New Testament. You got to understand. They tell you not to read the Old Testament. Well, how you going to learn this information so when you get to the New Testament, you're just like you jumped into a book and don't know what's going on. You jump to the end of the book and don't know what's going on. How you jump to the end of the book? So that's how a lot of Christianity get screwed and lost. That's why they argue with you when you say go to the Old Testament. Because they don't know you got to read the Old Testament to see what's going on in the front Testament. See, because just like he just said, the same way Isaac we have a baby from Rebekah, it was going to be Jacob, and he got Esau. That's where Jacob and Esau come from. But the chosen seed was of Jacob, which is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob had the 12 tribes of Israel, which is the so-called Negro Latino Americans and Native Indians. That's us. That's us. That's where the 12 tribes come from. So that's what, just keep up with the lesson and you won't get lost. Check it out. Go to Galatians 4, 22 through 23, then 28. Read as follows. For it's written that Abraham had 2 sons. Listen. The one by the bondmaid and the other one by the free woman. For he who was the bondmaid was born of the flesh. I just explained it to you. See, Duval was just making, it's like precept upon precept. They just breaking it down so you can further get to understand. That's why it's important that you don't read the Bible like a story, folks. Just go through the Bible and read precept on precept, and that's where you get to understand. Now, you see how Galatians is backed up Roman, how it backed up Genesis. That's how you do. So now you get to understand. You see, it keep going to it going to show you certain scripture till you get it. But he of the free woman was by the promise, which Isaac came out of. Now we brethren, as Isaac was, are the children of the promise. And see, Isaac was the promise. It's kind of confusing because the church done screwed us over so much. So when I'm talking, you got to follow along very closely. You got to go back and get these scriptures, go very closely and follow along with it. Now this Hebrew finna back it up. I'm only gonna go 15, 20 minutes. I'm giving short lessons so it won't be so long. And now my lesson gonna be 15, 20 minutes to break it down. I'm trying not to go with 30. So now I just went from the covenant. So now I'm almost through with the covenant. This how you know. This how Abraham passed the covenant to Isaac. Then I'm gonna read how Isaac passed the covenant to Jacob. And then so on and so on. By faith, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac. Everybody remember the story when God told Abraham to take his son Isaac up there and sacrifice him. Yeah, everybody remember that. But then God told Isaac in the midair, stop. I was testing your faith. So his faith came with action. So you got people say you have, I got faith, and I got faith. With no action, there's no faith. You can't have no faith if you don't have faith. Anybody say I got faith, well, show me that you got faith. Show me that you got faith and take action. So Isaac went there, offered up, Abraham went there and offered up his son. But God stopped. He was going to do it right in midair. But God stopped it. But God always have a ram in the bush for you. When he asks you to do something, jump out on faith, he got a ram in the bush for you. Okay, check this out. And he that had received the promise offered up his only begotten son, of whom it was said that in Isaac shall the seed be called, accounting that God was able to raise him up even from the dead, from whence also he received him in the figure. You got to understand. I'm going to read this again for you to get understanding. I want you to read it now. I'm going to catch it. I want you to catch it. That in Isaac shall the seed be called. Okay, the promise coming out of Isaac. The seed is coming out of Isaac. The seed coming out of Isaac. Now this is, he's talking about Jesus. The seed, because you got Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob was the 12 tribes. And out of Judah, which was one of Jacob's sons, Jesus was born through that bloodline. They won't teach you that. Now, and check this out what Hebrews say. Check it out now. Accounting that God was able to raise him up from the dead. Remember, he died. He came back in 3 days. Even from the dead, from which also he received him a figure. He had a body. Jesus wasn't just no spirit like people say he is. He had a body. He was a man walking among the earth. I'm just trying to tell you, folks, you had to take this and read it. That's why I'm going slow. I'm not going to be over 20, 25 minutes. Now, this is the last part here of how the promise, how it was passed down. Check this out. I'm reading this Bible to you, baby. I'm reading straightforward. I'm not giving you no lie, no nothing. Just straight from the Bible. If you don't get it, it's just because you don't want to, because you love the life you live. Sirach, which is in the Apocrypha. I remember I told you the King James book was in the Apocrypha is in there. Check this out. Sirach, which is Ecclesiasticus. This is in the it ain't funny to me because I'm laughing at all them years out in the church. Nobody never broke this Bible down to me like I break it down. I go back. I ride around in the city. I go back and listen to myself, and I'm feeding my own self. I'm feeding me. Just like I'm trying to feed you. Ecclesiasticus 4:22. With Isaac did he establish likewise for Abraham, his father's sake, the blessing of all men in his covenant are made to rest upon the head of Jacob. The head of Jacob. The 12 tribes. The 12 tribes. All this way come from Jacob. This is where we got started. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Jacob wrestled with the angel and he said, your name shall no longer be Jacob. It should be Israel. Israel, and then you would have 12 seeds, and Jesus came out of Judah, which is the so-called niggas of the day. So you didn't know that. You come straight out of the bloodline, because you know he had 12 sons. But out of this, just imagine you got 3 sons. Jesus came out of your son. He was born out of your bloodline. Well, that's where we come. We come strictly out of the bloodline of Jesus. You got Jesus' bloodline traveling through your body. Check this out. He acknowledged him and his blessing and gave him the heritage and to divide his portion among the 12 tribes. Did he pardon them? I'm just saying. I'm just telling you. I'm reading what I've been telling you all along. Here, go right here. Now this is it. See now, that was it. I don't want to go call the next step. I'm going into when Isaac, with his wife Rebecca, conceived Jacob, the 2 twins, Jacob and Israel. Jacob and so-called Edomite, which is the so-called white people. Jacob represents the niggas, so-called niggas of today, so-called black people of today. I say so-called because that's not our name. You wouldn't know if I call you the 12 tribes of Israel. A lot of people get on here and don't know. So that's why I say so-called. I know who we are. But I say so-called to edify you, for you can know who it is. Once you start learning these names, then you'll know who they are. So I got to say so-called white, so-called black, so-called Negro, so-called Caucasian. I got to tell you them. So, but that was it on that. That'll show you how the blessing was passed down from Abraham to Isaac. Now it'll come down from Isaac to Jacob, and that's where we come out of. That's where the people who stand, the so-called niggas of today, and the Latinos and the Native Indians, we come out of them 12 sons. And we all can. But we don't act like it. I just want y'all to follow these lessons, because I'm gonna go straight by straight before we can get it. So the next lesson will be Isaac's wife Rebecca conceived. That's gonna be our next topic. So just follow that. Keep that in mind. All I do want to teach you people. I know I'm harsh at times, but sometimes we need harshness. Everything is not easy through life. We need harshness. Shalom, shalom. I love you people. I love you all my people. I love you. Shalom, my people.